Let's take a look at Chinese automakers' sales in Europe so far this year, because the numbers seem quite low, but all is not as it seems. Let's find out what's going on. Chinese brands have been selling in Europe for a number of years now. MG started, followed by iWays, XPeng, NIO, BYD, amongst some of the big names there. However, recent sales figures, especially compared to the China sales figures, are tiny. So what on earth is going on? Is it all going wrong, or is this exactly in the plan? Let's start by examining the Dutch market. In May 2023, sales figures have been released for that month. We're going to start off with the Netherlands, and the top brand there, which technically isn't really an EV brand but sells PHEVs and ICE cars, is Lynk & Co. They had a huge 681 cars registered for the month of May. So there's clearly demand in the market for these Chinese cars. However, the next bestseller in Europe was a different brand. MG followed closely behind with 560 registrations in the Netherlands in May, a pretty respectable number, mostly EV only brand. So just to let you know, a lot of this data is from the fantastic website Car News China. It's a really good resource. It's been around for years. I love spending time on there. They've got loads of resources, so go and check them out. They're really, really good if you want to know more about the Chinese EV and ICE markets. However, if we move down the charts, NIO registered just 23 units in the month of May. So it begs the question, is this all part of the plan, or are these actually quite low numbers? We're going to find out exactly what we think the plan is in just a moment. First of all, let's move to Germany. So Germany also released its sales figures for May, and they're quite different from the Dutch sales figures. So in Germany, MG was the biggest Chinese brand. They had an astounding 1,780 cars registered in Germany in the month of May. They really are a very successful Chinese brand in Europe, and they continue to go from strength to strength and grow day by day. That's a very impressive number for just one country in Europe, for a relatively new brand, technically an old brand but a new brand, and they're doing really, really well. Interestingly, a rising star in Germany was Great Wall Motors with 155 registrations. Now they have obviously the Aura cat and Funky cat and whatever cat they're called, Punk cat, I can't remember the names. That also is the one which is propelling Great Wall's sales figures in Germany. They're hoping to replicate that success across other European countries and the UK in the coming months. Next up is NIO, and they had a very respectable 44 registrations in the month of May. Now, given that NIO actually hasn't been available for sale in Europe for very long, I think it's less than a year, these are still early days, so they're just taking things very slowly as they ramp up, and they're starting to bring more and more models to market, especially the NIO ET5 Touring. However, it's not always rosy, as we can see from iWays. iWays in Germany sold just one. There's one car registered in the month of May. However, we did forget iWays in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, iWays actually sold 44. So actually one of the more successful Chinese brands in the Dutch market. So it's interesting to see how well iWays is doing in one market and how they're doing not so well in Germany. Selling just one unit, maybe it was an off month, who knows what the reason was. I'm sure they're hoping for better sales figures in the months to come. All in all, I think iWays have done a pretty stellar job. They were one of the first of this new batch of Chinese EV makers. And especially as MG has that history from the UK, technically they're not seen as new. Polestar, kind of seen as Volvo, not seen as Chinese so much. So iWays were one of the forerunners, and their success across Europe has been pretty remarkable so far. But what this really shows is a continuing acceptance of Chinese brands in the market. This should lead for really good sales for other brands who are going over to Europe with more affordable EVs. One standout brand would be BYD, of course, who are able to make much more affordable, readily available EVs. Their sales figures haven't come up yet, but they're sure going to ramp up over the next few months. I expect by December they will be the best selling EV in some European markets. It's clear that European buyers are being won over by straightforward design, simple technology and the more advanced technology and just overall quality of these Chinese cars. It does beg the question, what are the legacy automakers, especially in Germany, thinking of these new Chinese cars arriving on their shores? Of course, at the moment, they're probably not too panicked because the sales figures are relatively low. But I'm sure they're thinking this is just the start of the tide and there's still plenty of time for them to catch up and even take over in the next few years. And this is still very early days. The Chinese automakers do know how to play the long game. They've had this EV strategy for a long time, EV 2025. They've been planning this for many, many years. And one thing they can do, so long as the cash remains in place, is just wait and keep innovating and then suddenly hit the market with a lot of new EVs. We're still in the very early days and they're testing the waters, taking things slowly. But most of these automakers are really going to ramp up this year. I think BYD are considering a factory outside of China, Thailand obviously, but perhaps in Europe as well. Geely, on the other hand, would be the same. They would be expanding into Europe. They're currently expanding into, I think it was Budapest with their new Geely Geometry A car. I could have got that wrong, but their Geometry range is going to Europe. Then there's some really exciting cars coming to market which aren't very Chinese. So for example, the MG Cyberster. Convertible cars, sports cars don't have much of a history in China, and so that is definitely a European and UK primarily market car. That's a very exciting car to come to market. Can't wait to see that and hopefully drive it. Another very important car for the market is the NIO ET5 Touring. Now, estate cars are popular-ish here, but SUVs definitely stand out in the market. Wagons or estate cars are play second fiddle to SUVs. So that's definitely a Euro-focused car, and they're hoping for big sales numbers with the ET5 Touring. XPeng as well have their upcoming G6, and that is another global car from XPeng, which is very much suited to a European market as well as the Chinese market. All of these are new cars which will be coming out in the next few months and with a very European focus for all of them. And let's not forget BYD, the BYD Seagull. We're hoping to drive this very soon here, but that will be coming to Europe, we expect, towards the end of this year, early next year, and that will be probably the cheapest EV available, brand new, from a Chinese automotive manufacturer. We'll wait and see what the prices will be, but it's expected to make big waves in the European market as it's making big waves in the Chinese market at the moment. Most importantly, these brands are also taking time to develop battery factories, to develop their charging infrastructure, NIO with their battery swapping, for example. And they're just kind of going into these new markets and slowly exploring before the massive ramp up, which will happen very, very soon. So although numbers are relatively small at the moment, we are fully expecting them to go mad very, very soon. So let's see what happens towards the tail end of this year. Maybe we will revisit this topic towards the tail end of the year and see how those sales numbers have developed. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed these new format of videos. This is all part of me doing research into the Chinese EV market, so I'm better informed for other videos that I do and just become better informed on the Chinese EV market. Big thanks to Car News China for providing all the data. Have a look on their website, it's really, really good. And stay tuned for the next episode in this series. Leave your comments, positive or negative, below, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.